welcome to our spoilers review of The Cruel Prince by Holly Black.
I have been excited about this book for a very long time.
I was excited about it when I got it in my hands.
I don't know what it is about like Holly Black books, but I like have like her, I guess, bookmarked, her Goodreads page bookmarked, and every time she updates it I read about it and then I have to like wait for like 4 years.
Yeah. So I just go blind and you're like, oh look, there's a new Holly Black book. I'm like, really? Great, mine now.
So Cruel Prince is the first book in a new trilogy. Cruel Prince follows Jude, who has grown up in Faerie. She was kidnapped by her stepfather when she was quite young, so she doesn't really remember a lot of like the human world. She has a twin sister named Taryn, an older sister who is a full fairy named Vivian. She has a younger brother named Oak, and a very complicated and amazing relationship with said stepfather, the Red Cap General, Maddox.
There is this coup sort of going on that Jude is slowly getting roped into. Her father, stepfather Maddox, is on one side, and he's friends with the king and blah 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 blah. And he's also friends with one of the possible heirs to the throne, which is Balkan?
I think he's friends with Balkan. So the thing is, Jude wants to be a knight. Like, that's her goal in life. She wants to be a knight, she wants to prove herself as a warrior, and she's as good as all the fairies because all the fairies have been bullying her because she's human and humans are puny and weak and bloody blah blah blah. But Jude wants to be a knight. And so she keeps going to Maddox and being like, I want to be a knight, I want to be a court knight. And Maddox just like, okay sweetheart, we'll train, but after the coronation. We'll discuss all of this after the coronation.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. She's like, but I want to do it. And so disobeys her stepfather and ends up meeting up with one of the other princes, Dane, and he's like, you can be my spy. She's like, this is a great idea.
And the thing is, like, each kind of like member of the family has like a different personality. There's a couple of other siblings that, you know, you don't really get too much time of, but Balkan is kind of like a hot-headed
Jerk face.
Yeah, likes to fight things. Dane is like the good guy. The
good guy.
Yeah. And Cardin is the one who's been tormenting her.
Yes.
And he's an asshole. Yes.
I think what Holly Black does the best with all of her fairy characters is that they're not exactly human, though their motivations can be at times, like, you can understand where their motivations come from, but the whole being immortal thing can kind of affect how you play the game, you know?
Yeah, you're playing the long game.
Playing the long game.
The centuries long game. Jude is, you know, trying to go about being like the best human fairy there is, and she's getting picked on by Prince Cardin and his lackeys Nicasia, Locke, and Valerian, and they get pretty nasty with it. At one point they like threaten to drown her, at one point they make her eat fairy food, which makes her like trip out and kind of be under their control. Her sister, her twin sister Taryn, seems to be able to escape most of it, mainly by just saying like, leave me out of it, I'm weak and I know my place.
Because so the three sisters, they each have their own method of surviving in Faerie. Vivian, the fairy sibling, wants nothing to do with it because she was old enough to remember when Maddox took them, so she has a grudge against him. She says she'll never love him, and she spends as much of her time frolicking in the human world. Jude decides that the best way is to be a strong knight person, because when you're strong, no one can touch you, and Taryn is just like, you know what, I'm just gonna do the human thing and find myself like a good like fairy to marry and I'll be protected. Because like, if she's owned by someone else,
nobody's gonna fuck with her.
And I mean, right now they have some protection because Maddox is like the general. People who are tormenting Jude can't exactly just outright slit her throat. All they can really do is maybe accidentally make her maybe kill herself.
Yeah, and then they're like, oops, didn't mean to do that.
Like, it's funny, humans, like, they can't hold their breath, right? Like,
I forgot. Oops. Jude gets roped into helping Dane and being a spy for him, and she gets sent on some like pretty shady missions. But you know, Dane is supposed to be the one who's going to be crowned king when the father abdicates, and there's a special crown that he has that means that nobody can take the crown by coup. What has to happen is one sibling like places it on the head of another sibling and crowns them king. But there is this way around the I guess, the rules.
The thing about this book is I would say that it's pretty like middle of the road until about the halfway point.
Yeah.
Then you hit the halfway point and then it just becomes like nuts. I was kind of reading it and I'm like, okay, this is fine. And I hit the halfway point and I finished the book that night. Like I could not put it down because it is so intense and clever and just so beautifully twisted.
They're at their like nice crowning ceremony. Maddox like, you know, stay near the back, like shit's gonna go down. And what ends up happening is Baelkin turns on all his siblings and he's like, fuck you, father. I think he kills his father. And then he's like up to all the other siblings, you're gonna crown me king. And they're like, nope. No. And so he ends up killing like 3 or 4 of his siblings. Dane right out. And the only one left is Cardin.
First thing that we have to know is that by agreeing to be Dane's spy, Jude gets some abilities. And the one ability is that no one can compel her. So no fairy can control her other than Dane, which drives her crazy. But now that Dane is out of the picture, she's basically has the best fairy immunity ever. She ends up going back to where Dane's spies live, and they're just like, well, I mean,
guess we're out of the game.
Guess we're out of the game. I mean, we could go live at this other court, like we could go hang out with Royben, because like, what's the point of us staying here? Like, we have no horse in the game. It's not like we were loyal to him, we're not like loyal to this court. Jude is like, no, we can fix this. We can be good. I can't believe my father is an asshole.
Yeah, because Maddox is clearly in on this plot for Baelkin to...
Thing is, Maddox is a red cap. Red caps are like, they thrive on like violence and war. Previous king had like this long, peaceful reign that there was no battle, and
so he's kind of bored.
Yeah, he's just like, this is not my nature. My nature is to fighty, kill. Like, I'm going a little
stir crazy here. Need to wet my cap in the blood of my enemies.
And so we also figure out, because there's another level to this crazy, because Maddox may have supported Baelkin, but he has his own horse in the race, because we find out that his son, Oak, their younger brother, is not actually his son. He is the secret
love child of Dane and another fairy woman. And we also find out that Dane is not the good guy who's been going around like, oh, I'm so great, look at me. He actually like had this woman killed to try and like stamp out this child. So he's not like a favorite child or anything. Dane's a bastard too. Best friend of this unnamed fairy woman is Maddox's current wife. And so she pretended the child was hers, claimed that it was Maddox. Maddox is just like, oh yes, this is good. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna eventually have like this child crowned, and then I will have a puppet king, and then I will have all of the wars I could ever dream of. And so Jude realizes that she needs to save her baby brother, and the best way that she can do that is get him out of court, have him grow up in the human world, and hopefully when he's an adult he can come back and, you know, do the whole Fisher King scenario and take over and everything's gonna be great. Problem
is how is she gonna do it?
So she has these like spy friends who are like kicking around, they're agreed to help her because, you know, think of all the gold they're gonna get if this thing works. Then she has to kind of get the agreement of the other fairy courts, so that involves going to see like Royben and Kay, and, you know, she briefly runs into like Severin and all his folk. So yeah, we get to see some of the old fairy crew coming back.
Kind of cool, especially to see Royben again. I'm like, yeah, I never finished your trilogy, maybe I should do that. Woo!
The other part of the hitch in her plan is that Cardin is still around and he's still a dick.
And the thing is, the only way that she would be able to get her baby brother on the throne is if he is crowned by a member of the family. So she can't exactly just go up to Baelkin and Cardin and stabby because she needs at least one of them alive. And so she has this awful relationship with Cardin that we haven't even touched, because he's been bullying her, but he's been bullying her because it's kind of like a Connor scenario again, if you remember the call, where he's kind of into her, but he can't say that he's into her.
Or he likes how like good she is at shit, but it also pisses him the fuck off. So yeah, so they've got this like love-hate thing going on.
And so she manages to manipulate him and make a deal with him to be like, okay, we'll work this out. You don't like your brother. He beat you, he abused you, so you don't want to see him on the throne. Why don't we put Oak on the throne? And then like we can advise him. And he's just like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. This sounds good. And so he makes a deal with her that he is vowed to her for a certain amount of time. So he has to do what she says.
But he's going to follow her orders.
Yes.
Yeah. The other relationship we kind of haven't talked about is Jude's relationship with her sister Taryn, who is a horrible fucking person. There is this like weird subplot that makes you hate Taryn, but you're still like, what the fuck is going on? Where like Jude kind of has this thing for Locke, one of Cardin's lackeys, and he's hitting on her and she's like into him and she's like, I probably shouldn't be with this asshole, but like, you know, it's fun. And so she ends up like kind of like sleeping with him. She finds out that he's actually related to Oak and his mother was killed in this thing. But it turns out that Taryn has been like with Locke for longer, and he likes to play games.
Yeah, he loves to make drama. He loves to make stories, and so it's just like, I'm gonna lead on both sisters, and then I'm gonna marry one of them, and it's gonna upset the other one, and it's gonna be great!
Yeah, he's like, let's create chaos! He like manages to convince Taryn that if she loves him, she'll let him sleep with her sister, 'cause reasons, like...
And then also, Cardin says to Taryn, we won't touch you, we won't humiliate you, we won't torment you, but you can't help your sister. All of our attention is now going to be on her.
So, you know, now's your chance to leave, and she just does. And, like, she barely feels guilty about it. She's just like, well, you brought this on yourself. Like, at one point, Jude is, like, this close to being drowned. And Taryn's just like, bye. Meanwhile, her other sister, Vivian, I love. At one point, Jude is attacked by Valerian. And she ends up killing him. Even like before that, like I think it was like just meant as a joke, but like Vivian was just like, so what do you need? Help hiding a body? She's just like,
boy.
No. Vivian is like the sister that will do like anything for her and like legitimately cares about her, even though she is one of the fairy. And so I love that kind of like relationship where like your human sister is like the one who's the monster and your fairy sister is the one who's always got your back.
So we come to the conclusion. They're gonna do the crowning ceremony, and Jude says to Cardin, okay, don't move, don't do anything, stay there, like, you can't fight me. And he's like, okay, this is not good. And Oak shows up with the crown, and she crowns Cardin. And now Cardin is king, and he's a puppet. And then they whisk Oak away, and Cardin is just like, this is not what I wanted. You realize that the moment I am no longer, like, bound to you, I am going to make your life hell.
Poor Twisted Cardin is getting fucked.
However long this thing is, Jude has to prepare for basically the throne coming to get her. So she has created, and it's brilliant, this evil puppet king that Oak will have to come and overthrow.
It's gonna be crazy when just all the things that she has set up are now gonna like hit the ground. There is so much in this story that it doesn't feel like it's a story that's just meant to set up the other stories. It very much feels like its own complete story, which is really like, I think, hard to do when you're like setting up a story like this.
I think the closest thing we could compare it to is Forest of a Thousand Lanterns, because it's basically the origin of kind of like, not like a villain in a way, so you get to see why the villain has become the villain. The main story now is going to be like the hero coming in, and that's what the second book is going to be about. It's going to be about Oak coming into the fairy world and having to leave behind the life that has been built for him in the human world.
And I mean, Jude's got a lot of shit to deal with,
oh, man,
like as she's holding down this throne for Oak.
Because like, it's gonna be awful.
So we're really excited to get the rest of this series.
And I mean, we probably didn't even do this book justice in
No.
this like rambling recap.
All the stuff that went down, because there's so much of it, and there's so much good like characterization. There's characters you're gonna love, there's characters you're gonna hate. It's just gonna be like, it's great. It's great. So that was our spoiler review, guys. Let us know what you thought in the comments, and if you like the review, subscribe. Bye, guys.